Good afternoon, everyone. Allison Schaberg here, Consolidated Planning Group. We are excited today to be back with Gateway. They're going to be talking to us today about their adult program called GAP. It's a 2-year transition program to independence, so we're excited to be learning more about that today. For those of you that are joining for the first time, our webinars usually kind of run the same track where you go for an hour. So if you're planning your day, you can know that we aim to start on time and end on time. If you have sent in a question, we got your questions ahead of time, so we're going to be addressing those questions. We are in webinar mode today, which means that we can't see you or hear you, but we know you're there, and we're glad that you've joined us today. And we do invite you to put any additional questions that you have in the chat box if you didn't already send those in. So I always like to start by talking a little bit about Consolidated Planning Group. For those that attend our webinars all the time, you've probably heard of us before, but for those that are here for the first time, we are a holistic special needs financial planning firm. We have over 30 years experience. We're nationally certified as Social Security advisors, members of the Special Needs Planning Academy, certified special needs consultants. Our whole firm is nuanced and planning for a loved one that has a disability. We help people understand when and how to fund a special needs trust. How much money do we need to fund a special needs trust? We help people preserve eligibility for state and federally funded programs, knowing when to apply for those programs and what programs may be out there that will help you on your journey. So, we help people put protection plans in place. We help set up ABLE accounts. We do a lot of advocacy by way of webinars. We have a Consolidated Planning Group YouTube channel. It's in the chat box. We'll put it out there again. All of our past webinars live on that YouTube channel. We have a podcast that you can listen to in the car. And so if you can think of a topic, we've probably discussed it. And like I said, you'll find that on the YouTube channel where you can subscribe to for free. We always like to encourage people when it comes to planning for special needs, whether you work with us or you work with somebody else, we highly encourage you to work with professionals that are specifically nuanced in working with people and individuals with disabilities, because what they don't know can hurt you as it relates to the benefits that you may or may not qualify for by having money in the wrong buckets. So we highly encourage specialized planning when it comes to that. So when you're planning for special needs, we answer questions like who's going to care for your child when you no longer can. We help people develop a future care plan now. We're really big fans of developing that plan while everybody's of sound mind and body, and not waiting until the crisis happens, because planning is a little bit more difficult, not impossible, but definitely a little bit more difficult when the crisis has happened, and also emotions really run high. And as you know, a financial planner, the first thing that we tell people is don't make big financial decisions when you're in an emotional state, because most of the time when we make those decisions, they're bad ones. They're ones that we regret later. So, we talk about considering post-high school educational options and vocational options, and we're going to be talking about that today. And then we also want to consider touring transition programs, partial care, full residential care. Some of these waiting lists can be long, so you're going to want to make careful considerations on that. And I always suggest people get themselves on the list. If you're on the list and you come up on the list, it doesn't mean you have to say yes, but you have the opportunity to say yes if you want to. But if you're not on the list and the time comes and you need something right now might not be available because of those waiting list. And then, as always, we always mention make careful considerations before naming siblings as future caregivers. We often see siblings as future trustee of the special needs trust that kind of navigates the care for the individual with a disability, so that individual can have some autonomy, can have family, friends, maybe they have a job, those types of things. So we talk a lot about that as well. So having said all that, it brings me to the GAP program, Gateway Adult Program. Again, we are so happy to be here with you guys today, and I am going to turn everything over to you.
Hello, I'm Dr. Joseph, Michele Joseph. I am the head of school and founder of Gateway Academy. We have been in operation for 20 years this year. Woo! Yes. Can't believe I have done this for 20 years. Um, I know I've talked through consolidated webinars in the past, and I'm happy to be back here again. We have had a young adult program for about 8 years now. And just like when we started Gateway, we opened up with a concept, we learned, we grew, we changed, we adapted, and we've got a really great product now, I think, and program for these guys who get out of high school or even get out of college and just don't know what to do. They flounder, they have a hard time finding a job, they have a hard time managing their medication. They have a hard time cleaning their space and following house rules, things like that. And they really just need to be independent from their parents, but they need to learn how. And so that is what we are doing. And we are proud to present to you our programming now. It's very data driven. It's very specific, and at the same time, it's uh, tuned and kind of molded towards each kid or young adult so that they have a program that really fits them, but gets them up off their feet and moving forward. Um, Justin Adams is our adult program director. He has been with us for 5 years now, I think, and he has done just about everything there is to do that has to do with this program. And so he is our director and has really put in this piece about data and driving our kids to move forward by looking at the data and seeing how their actions actually match what they say they want or say they're moving towards. And so I'm going to let Justin talk now. Has so much experience. He has been at probably just about every special school here in town. So he has a wealth of knowledge as well and come from many different programs so that when he came and helped fine tune this program, he had a lot of great ideas and have put them into action. And it's been very, very successful. All right, Justin, it's for you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Justin Adams. I'm the GAP director. And as Michele said, I've been working with the Gateway Adult Program for 5 years now. Thrilled to have you all here today. And thank you for joining us. And thank you, Consolidated Planning Group, for hosting. As Michele said, Gateway, our mission here is to empower neurodiverse students through academics, internships, and social awareness to achieve success in education, employment, and in life. So the school itself serves learners from grades 6 to 12, and we also have the young adult program. Our focus is on academics, social emotional growth, and real world skills to thrive in college, career, and community. We have internships, and that's where a big part of the young adults get their practice, and I'll go into all of that. We also have 97% of graduates from 2016 to 2024 are employed or furthering education. So the GAP program is got 4 components: the work readiness and career exploration, personal growth and well-being, independent living, and communication. And I'm going to go into each one of those, what we do. So for work readiness, we try to empower our students to identify their strengths and navigate the workforce with confidence. So a lot of this we do when we're at our internship sites. We also have lessons on this daily about understanding what our bosses mean when they give us feedback, and learning the professional behavior while you're at work, how to send emails and messages to your bosses and get along with coworkers. We do a lot of hands-on learning. We have mock interviews. We talk about resumes, and while we're at internships, they spend time, talking to their bosses there and getting feedback from them about how they can improve in their job skills. And they also spend a lot of time uh, learning about their career interests and their paths. So, like what their strengths are. We do some the Berkman personality tests to help them with that as well. Um, and our internships right now, we go to Memorial City uh, Greater Heights Hospital. We also go to the Forum, and both of those places they work in many different fields. Some of them are with the patients. Some of them work in the dining area and clean up, and then also like help the patients at the hospital like get the get stuff that they would need. At the Forum, they talk to the residents. They do activities with them, like the bingo games and Plinko. They help them with puzzles. They also carry things up to their apartments that they live in, as well as working straighting in the dining area and doing laundry as well.
At all these internships, we have an adult there with them so that they are getting feedback from us at all times, as well as from their bosses. So we don't, I know other places kind of leave them there. Sometimes I think they at first, go with them, but our job is to be there the whole time in case anything happens, but to be very hands-on when we first start, but by the end of the semester, our goal is to be sitting back and really not having to do much of anything in hopes that they will be doing the work by themselves, and then taking the feedback from coworkers and their bosses.
We did have a question about, employment, and there's a lot of statistics out there about people with disabilities and the underemployment rates or unemployment rates and things like that. Is your internship program in partnership with vocational rehab or workforce commission, or is this independent of that program? Because we actually had somebody who had mentioned that they've been having a hard time getting services or getting moving with employment with vocational rehab. And we've heard that before, and what we know is that they're working really hard over there, and we know that they're understaffed. We do know that. And that they're really trying to close the gaps on that. But how does that work at the GAP program?
They really are understaffed, and they really do work hard, but they also have a lot of turnover. And
Yes.
so it's really, really difficult to be able to service our families well. And we recognize that also. We do have a few partnerships with them, but it's on the side. It's not something that's part of our program. We're doing this completely independent of them. And we also encourage our families to also do things that they want them to do. So definitely going through some of the assessments that TWC might ask you to get, those kinds of things, because the more information we can get, the better. So we want them to be able to utilize those services, because they still may need them after they're done with us even. It depends on the student that's coming forward, what do they need?
So
Um,
let's pause on that for a second, because I know what you're talking about. I know you know what you're talking about, but some people here may have never heard of
okay,
this before. And I just want to say that we have entire webinars on vocational rehab.
yep.
But what she's talking about is when you submit yourself, Start My VR, that they take you through, once you have submitted all of your paperwork. There are a number of assessments that they do. It might be a neuropsych, it may be a learning differences assessment, and they typically do a vocational evaluation, which is anywhere from 3 to 5 days. And the whole point of that vocational evaluation is to determine what the gaps are the impediments to employment are for that individual, and then put an IPE, not an IEP, an employment plan in place to help close those gaps. So what she was referring to is that vocational rehab is state and federally funded. All states have vocational rehab, and most of those assessments, most of the time, are completely covered by the program. Whereas a family, you could get these assessments done, but you would spend several $1,000s out of pocket because they're generally not covered by your health insurance. So I just wanted to mention that. It's a great point, Dr. Joseph. Thank you.
I also will say that when you are working with Voc Rehab, the way that most of our families get through the system is that you call them all the time. You call them constantly, you email them constantly. When they say they're going to do something, you know, weekly provide a, okay, are we there yet? Okay, when should we show up? Okay, it's really, really important to
Agreed.
be a
Don't
broken
wait weeks
record.
and months because it'll
Yeah,
kind of go into the black hole. Yes,
exactly. Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, Justin, keep going.
All right. So another thing that we focus on is our personal growth and well-being. So part of our lessons that we have a social therapist, a counselor that works with them, and they'll do group discussions about popular topics such as like stress management and things like that. They also do one-on-one therapy, work with them and think about how they can better improve some of the situations. So especially when it comes to like dealing with, you know, how to become an adult and like the struggles that they have with like their parents not trusting them, or they need to deal with how to make friends and things like that. So part of that is self-advocacy and communication, and personal routines for focus and energy management. We also talk about independent living, which is cooking, cleaning, organizing, time management, setting goals for themselves, their personal hygiene, budgeting, pretty much all the things that they need to learn that they have not already mastered. And some of them that live at home still, we work with them and their parents on creating like systems at home so that they're managing more of their like life things, whereas those that are in apartments are focusing mostly on you know, keeping it clean, and we will go check on them from time to time to make sure that they're working diligently to have an organization in their apartments. So one of our goals is to increase their consistency in daily routines. So what we'll do is, what I've found is like, you can't tell them how to live their lives. You have to like show them what it is that they need to do, and then they can figure out how that best works for them. Especially when it comes to like making smart decisions about health and money. Like we can tell them all the time, you need to eat healthy, you need to, you know, not spend money on this. But if they don't have a consequence for those things, it's harder to get them to recognize it. So what we do is try to show them what the consequences of it are.
Many of them either live in the apartments across the street from us. We don't manage that apartment. It is not under our domain at all, but it's close, so that we can just walk across the street and go, well, let's go see what's going on there. Let's make sure that, you know, the plumbing you're talking about is something that you can't fix by yourself, or let's go make that phone call to the building manager, or, you know, show me that you cooked that last night, or you know, are your clothes clean? And then it's the technology management also, and helping them recognize when technology really is getting in the way.
Yeah, agree with both all that. And then the last section that we really do is communication. And this is through role play. We do like reflections of things, digital communication, like how to send a text message and responding, because so many of our guys will not respond to text messages or emails. They'll just let them sit there. And so we work a lot on how do you have back and forth communication that is also effective for you, but also like not taking up your time in a sense of like you're not spending all your time doing that. Um, Within the workplace, that becomes a major part of their daily uh, focus, because they have to be able to talk to their bosses and have communication with their coworkers, and how to read the nonverbal communication and tone. Like, what is, if your coworker is not talking to you, wonder why. So like, what do you think is the reason behind that? So we try to get them to role play those things, and then like figure out why that could be, and then how to solve those problems.
Justin, I know that your program is in the greater Houston, Texas area. And we've talked about the four components of the program, and I know that there's a lot more that we're going to talk about. But can we talk about who you serve? Who is your ideal candidate that, is presented? And I guess what I'm getting at is the unmanageable risk. There are some individuals that have characteristics or diagnoses that may not be well suited for your program. So I would like to know a little bit more about that. And you guys are serving 18 up on this particular GAP program in grades 6 through 12 for the private school program, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
So
So
for, oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. For the young adults, we're looking for individuals that are after they've graduated high school. Some of our guys have even graduated college. They're struggling to find a job, and then if they do get a job, struggling to manage that job and keep it. We have a few people that have had multiple jobs by the time they arrive, and they've all lasted, a couple months, and they don't understand why they can't keep that job. So part of our goal here is to help them understand why they won't keep it, and then to get them a new job where they will keep it. So who we're serving is neurodiverse individuals who are can be mostly independent with a lot of their stuff, um, and that are willing to and wanting to take those next steps.
So,
And yeah,
across the whole organization, it's pretty much the same. Like you said, it's individuals who we see that potential to be able to be independent in the future. There are varying levels of independence. I would say most of our students fit within the category of they can be independent probably somewhere down the line in their 30s. But most will need some sort of oversight to some degree. A lot of times that's in budgeting, and those kinds of things. And medication management sometimes when we have those mental health issues, a couple of kids that are bipolar, that really struggle with consistent medication management, we see that that might be a lifelong issue. And so we recognize that that's not independence, but everything else we can we can teach them how to live in an apartment, those kinds of things, but mom and dad probably need to manage some of those things for them. Um, and then we've
we've
got,
learned that, there are some, to your point, that can be mostly independent, but we've also learned that there are some diagnoses, autism and ADHD more specifically, that have real challenges with financial management and not kind of basically blowing through their money as soon as they get it and things like that. And what we like to say is that's okay, because
yes.
they can nail all the rest of the things. And if they need to have somebody help them with their finances, listen, there are a lot of adults that don't have disabilities that need help
Mhm.
with their finances. So,
I
I think it's okay.
So when we're talking about autism, it's level 1, basically. There's some level 2 kids. It just depends on who diagnosed them and how they, what parts of that level they got diagnosed with lower level. Um, but level 1 primarily, and our ADHD kids, 90% of all of our students have ADHD. And so we're bouncing off the walls sometimes, you know, and it's hard. And we do small groups and all those things and walk them hand in hand to be sure they learn the skills. And so if you know a student that kind of fits that qualification, that's what we do. And then we've got kids who have learning issues, who just need help in communicating sometimes, or putting into writing what they're applying for, and trying to really write the important information down. They might need that kind of stuff, and just walking step by step through things, and then they're fine and they can fly, you know. But most of our kids are going to need a little bit of oversight from parents. And you know what? I think most parents are happy to say, you know what, if it's just one thing I have to manage, I'm in, you know,
Right.
versus all of them. And so
So we have
that's
a couple of
what our goal is.
questions. Do you have experience with FASD?
We do. We've had probably 2 or 3 students in the 20 years I've been here. So yes, I have experience, but it is not a lot. And so it's something that it just is child dependent on whether or not they fit our environment. Every kid is different.
And then one person said, what are your ratios? How are you taking data in a group model? Are you using technology or pencil and paper for data?
So Justin will talk more about that. And we have a full section about that. So I'll just
Perfect.
save
Thank
that
you.
for him.
So one of the things that I hear a lot with our post high school student, or when they're still in high school, is they'll say things like, "I'll figure that out when I get older," or they'll see their parents already doing it, so they're like, "Well, I'm just going to naturally know how to, you know, have a family and go to work and all those things," or knowing what's the difference between real and what's fake online, or just thinking that they can always just trust Google or their instincts when something comes about and they don't know how to do it, and they're just like, "Oh, well, I'll just look to find out." Well, we all know that that's not always the case. So our young adults come to us thinking those things, and they're starting to realize that growing up doesn't guarantee that you're going to know how to do something, and that maturity takes time, and that the magical thinking fades when they start having real challenges in the real world. Like if they go get a job, they think, "Oh, they're just going to love me because everybody loves me," which always isn't true. They actually have to perform in order to get a paycheck and to be liked by their peers. Or they'll have like gaps in problem solving. Um, so we'll have all that stuff, and then um, what I come around to do is start thinking about how to bring awareness to these things for them, and start doing data tracking. So our purpose is to uncover and challenge common misconceptions about adulthood. We track the growth through observable behaviors and trend analysis, offer clear, constructive feedback, and hold students accountable, support strategy shifts that lead to stronger decision making, and build the real world skills needed for confident independence. So some of the challenges that we find in self-awareness is their skewed reflection. They have limited perspective, so those distort how their experiences are, and they don't always recognize like their best selves. Like um, they will, if you give them feedback, they might hear like, for example, if you say, um, "You're doing a good job, but I need you to focus more on being a little bit faster." They hear, "I'm doing a good job," and that's what their reflection is on that. They don't hear the other part, so they have to like, we have to explain that more succinctly to them so they'll recognize it. Mistake avoidance. They don't admit the errors that they made, or they just don't even notice it because they don't have the wherewithal to recognize like that was a better way of doing something. The selective memory. So focusing on successes while ignoring the setbacks creates false sense of progress. So kind of what I was talking about before. Incomplete feedback loop. Without reflection and accountability, growth stalls. So we make them do a reflection every day, and they have to send an email that says, like, to their parents and to us and to the other trainers that we have here about advice that they were given throughout the day and something that they can work on the next day. So that way there's always that accountability piece and there's some reflection. So that way they do learn over time. And then the other thing that we have noticed a lot is their forgetfulness. You can do a lot with them in a day, and then the next day you ask them, well, what did we talk about yesterday? And it's completely all forgotten. So having those emails and those reflection pages, they can go back and look and say, oh yeah, I remember that now. So that's all kind of what we're focusing on, so that way we can do, they can make improvements and be better.
So let's talk about I at my house I call them wheels on the bus, wheels off the bus moments where things maybe aren't going as we had hoped or as we had planned, and kind of like the old phrase back up and punt. So when things aren't going the way we had hoped or whatever, what are the steps to kind of getting it back on track or picking up where we left off? The truth is, a lot of people with disabilities struggle to keep their job. They get the job, they mean struggle to keep it. Sometimes emotions run high in some of those diagnoses, so we go to from zero to 1,000 quickly. We walk off the job accidentally. So little things like that. So what do we do when things like that happen?
So first I would say that there's bringing the awareness to it. Um, so what is the problem? What is actually the underlying problem that they're facing? They have to know that first. Secondly, they work with our our emotional support team that we have to kind of help with those regulating that um, reaction that they might have when they realize that they're doing something wrong, or their boss gives them criticism, or their parents are upset with them, a friend is upset with them. So there's that regulation piece that we try to work on them. So like, how do you um, keep calm and collected during that? And then the other part is the data, like showing them proof of this is where you were and this is where we're going, and you can see how it lines up. And there's always going to be days where you have some setbacks. That's part of it. And we'll giving them the confidence to overcome that and move past it and learn from it are kind of the key steps. So when the wheels go off the bus, how do you get back on? So so our path is that we do track a lot of the different things that they're doing. They, it's somebody asked the question about, do we do it through paper and pencil? It's kind of a chart thing that I've made, like a database of all kinds of different things, and it's tracked throughout the day. Some students are more individualized, or they all have individual things, and then some of them are like basic for everyone. Like, did you arrive on time today? And I'll go over all that in a minute. But once we bring their awareness to it, then we start brainstorming ideas for how they can improve in those areas. So like, we use a collaborative effort. Like, so we don't try to tell them what they need to do. We try to brainstorm with them so that way they can come up with what works best for them. So that's that autonomy and development. Like telling them like, oh, you need to leave your house 5 minutes early. Well, we can tell them that, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to do it. So we have to brainstorm what is actually going to be something that you will do in order to improve this thing. So there's a lot of testing, like, oh, let me try to do this, or I'll set my alarm 10 minutes earlier, or I'll do, I will have breakfast, a different type of breakfast, or I will put my meds in the car so I'll remember to take them. So all those different strategies they try, and then if something works, then we keep going and doing it, and then we're tracking it to see if it's continually working. If it's not, then we go back to the drawing board. What do we need to do now? So that's kind of the improvement process, is just seeing if it's trying something, if it's working, we track it. If it's not working, we go back and try again.
One thing that I think also is the autonomy from parents as well. And I don't, of course, we all love our kids, but sometimes they're just too comfortable. It's just too easy to not do what you need to do with the comforts of your parents and your familiar. And I feel like when there is another group involved that is encouraging, like, and working together and holding accountable, that I feel like the success ratio is a lot higher. And because they all people want to succeed. That's all there is to it. They want to succeed. And then a lot of people have had some disappointments, or they've had some roadblocks, or they feel a little defeated of, kind of where they've gone along the way. And it's easy to crawl in that hole. But I feel like when they're working in a team approach like you guys have at the SCAP program, that it's more likely to just pick up and move on. I mean, I use that with one of my kids of like, okay, so what? That happened. It's unfortunate. What could you have done differently? What will you do differently going forward? And now we're moving on, and we're not gonna sweat this. Like, instead of, being downtrodden about the latest calamity of a job or something along those lines. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, exactly. That's that whole reflection piece. Like, it happened. There's nothing you can do to change it. What are we going to do differently? What did we learn from that? And let's move on.
That's right.
Exactly.
I love
So,
it.
yeah. And you were talking about the um, parent involvement. Like, we want it to be our parents of our students, we want them to be as least hands-on as possible. Like, we want them to do as little as they have to. Like, we want to make their lives easier so that way um their their son or daughter is more focused on us. Like, what are we making them do versus their parents? Like, we
and,
want to be.
and getting away from the what we call, and we've studied, and I'm sure you guys have seen this before, the learned helplessness of helicoptering. And all parents, great parents, and it's not anything negative. We want the best for our kids, and sometimes in our effort to help them and help move them along, they learn that helplessness. And so that's again where I think an outside group helping them with these things is, it's an easier approach than the parent approach, because it's just so easy to say no or dig your heels in, or whatever, with the people you're so very most comfortable with.
Yeah, I mean, they're 18 years of learning like what they could get away with, and they know how to master that. And so they will, oh, I forgot, and then eventually it just gets done. Or they'll make up excuses that they know their parents will like fall for. Or so it's those kind of things that, like, it's difficult, like you said, but at the end of the day, it's if somebody else is holding them accountable, we see much more success. So the data tracking we do, so we do like daily stuff. We talk about their screen usage and like how long they're on the phone. Um, Kind of a lot of different things. A sleep schedule, how long it takes you to get ready in the morning, and like it's a lot of different things that we're tracking, so that way. And those are more individualized, but first I'll go over some of the daily stuff that we talk about. Oh, okay. Well, this is the phone. This is the phone log that we use. So basically, they had to tell me their phone screen time every day and the apps that they were using the most often. And through that, I was able to figure out how long and we started this at the beginning of the year, and how long they were on their screen time, and then track it over time to see if it lessened. But also, it was mostly just to bring awareness to how long that they were on their phones, because a lot of them don't think about that. So this is kind of a graph here of all of that. And this is where I would actually write it down. So it would be like, so this student was on April 1st. He was on for 12 hours and 22 minutes on YouTube, was the most used app. And on that app, he was on it for 8 hours and 40 minutes. So through that, you can see as the month went on, there was less of him being on YouTube. Not every day, but a lot of times it was less in that first day because we brought attention to it. And these are our daily things. So as you can see, one of the things that we have on there is, do I look presentable and have clean clothes on today? So, if they look like they're a mess, then we say no. So you can see on January 24th, this student wore something that was either dirty or looked messy. Do they bring their internship clothes? So for both of our internships, they have uniforms or certain things that they need to wear. Did they bring that on those days? The blank spaces are days that they didn't have internship. Did I clean up after lunch? So we have lunch together and they need to clean up afterwards. And then they also have to clean up at the end of the day. So the days that they have blanks again on the lunch is also the days that we didn't have lunch here. And then cleaning up at the end of the day. Do they complete all their assignments? So every day they have to do like a routine thing. They have to write down the Thrively score. They have to come up, do a little test thing that just kind of rates their mental health. They have to write down how much money they spent the day before. They have to write down their phone time, and they also have to write down their gym log. So do they do that every day? Do they also do the assignments that the trainers give them? So if they do all that stuff, then they get a yes. If they don't, they get a no. And then there's so some of the other ones are like being ready in the morning. So like they need to be ready to listen at 9:30. If they're sitting down and ready to listen, then they get the yes. If they're not, then they get a no. Same thing in the afternoon. Are they ready to go to the internships? And let me just explain that real fast. So in the mornings, we're here. We start at 8:30. We do a workout at the YMCA, and then that's about 45 minutes. And then we come here to the school, and we start at 9:30. From 9:30 to 11:15, they do like lessons on one of those like social emotional or independent living kind of concepts. And then they usually will do a cooking activity, or they'll do work etiquette activity, or like do work on resumes. And then around 12:15 we have lunch, and then an hour after that they have to be ready in their uniforms, and then we go to internship till 4:30.
How do you guys, so I see how you're tracking it, but do you meet with the students one-on-one on their tracker weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, to kind of check in and redirect where there might be glaring issues?
So I started off monthly because I wanted to have a little bit more data and be able to have trends, because this is just one of the things that I was doing. But then then we'll start doing it weekly, so that way they can be aware of it. And then we can also look for like, oh, every day this week you were late. What's going on? Like, why were you, what has changed? Or what are you sure, like, is there something going on? Do we need to like have a conversation? And
I
so
love the red and green on this chart. Like it's so clear of like what's going right and where, there might need to be some corrective action. That's nice.
yeah. So one of those conditional formatting things that where you can, if there's a positive or a negative, it'll change colors for you. Uh, but so this was over like the January, February, March, and April. So this was more just for like, this is what I use for like parents to send home. Um, with the students, I would do like just daily, like, oh, look at this week. We could just go over it. I didn't have like the uh, number system. I just showed them like how many yeses or nos that they had in a week, to kind of get closer to that idea. So other things that I didn't kind of go over, but like I try to get them to be under 8 hours on their phone. So you can see this student was only doing it 4% of the time in January and February, and then in March and April is up to 26%. Um, where we can't like, I can't like make them not use their phone because they are adults, but if we can get them to lessen their time on it and be more, aware of that, then that's kind of the goal there. And I've actually checked in on the student over the summer, and it's even higher than 26% now.
So I was going to ask, that was exactly my next question. You like walked right into that. So I know that this is a 2-year program, but does this program take a break for the summer and then come back in the fall like a traditional school year, or does this run year round?
It runs year round in a sense. So through the school year, we are here doing lessons. In the summertime, they will continue internships. Some of our students get jobs, uh, and but I check in on them regularly. So like I will meet with some of them. I'll talk on the phone with them. Um, one of the students that lives in the apartments, I meet up with him like weekly or every other week, and we kind of go over like, is his apartment clean? Does he need any help? How has his hours changed? Those kind of things. And um, so it runs through the summer, but it's not as intensive as far as they don't have to come here every day and do any kind of lessons. It's more just like they're doing their internships and I'm there, or they're at their job, and then I'll check in with their bosses and stuff.
Are you guys on rolling admissions, and do you have a waiting list, or how does that work as far as admissions? Or do you have a preferred time when people start?
We'd be rolling admissions. Oh, go
We
ahead.
do have rolling admissions. We prefer that they start at the beginning just because it makes it easier for them not to have to catch up. But
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, and for the hospital, it's kind of a longer process to get to become an intern there. So starting them all at the same time is a lot easier than it is when they just they come randomly, because they have to do a lot of, learning, and then also do a lot of testing before they can, like,
paperwork. Yep.
yeah, paperwork, and then not testing as in like a paper and pencil, but like blood testing, because they're around patients.
Sure. All of the hoops and loops to jump through. Well, what I hear in everything that you're saying so far is intentionality. This whole program is very intentional. You're having a plan and working your plan. And so you can't help but have the outcomes that you are looking for. So that is pretty exciting. Do you want to talk to us any more on this slide, or do you want me to go on to the next one?
I mean, we can just go over the outcomes. So with the insight, we're able to meet regularly with students, receive concrete evidence that their progress and identify areas where growth is stalled. The fact-based, like, it proves it to them. So like I was talking about earlier, how they forget what happened yesterday. So having like like concrete evidence of things is so much clearer for them than it is to like talk about like, oh, remember last week when you were late? And it's like, I don't remember that. And then, but having that on paper, you can be like, look, I have it all right here. You were late 3 days last week. And so showing that to them is much more effective than it is to just discuss it. And then I don't ever like criticize them when I'm giving them the feedback. It's mostly like, here's where you can improve, versus like, you need to stop doing this. It's not like I'm not doing it to bring any negativity to it. It's mostly just like, here's an opportunity where we can improve. And we, at the end of every semester, we do like a performance review, kind of like what they would receive at any kind of a job, where they, receive kind of like a grade. And that's all based on the percentages of the stuff that we do and growth and all that. So this was a student who, when she was starting the year, was not very involved and did not want to participate in a lot. And we kept working with her on like why you need to participate, and how much more you can gain from it. And so you can see it starts off from August to October. She was on time 34% of the time. She was here so on time is at the gym, and then she would get here on time 6% of the time. And then we added a few other things, but as you can see, each month it gradually increased of her participation and being here on time. So the final thing that I did was, at the end of the year, I did a survey that the parents completed, the staff completed, and all the students completed. Some interesting things that I found out about that was growth over time. Students that had been here for more than 1 year scored higher in pretty much all the categories that were on the chart that were being ranked. The older students reported, so those that are 22 and above, that they had more confidence in their abilities. The students who remained in GAP longer demonstrated greater independence as well. Um, the parents of our younger students, the 19 to 21-year-olds, view that their young adults as more capable than parents of the older students. So that after high school, right after, the parents believe that their students had more skills versus those that had other parents that maybe their kid had just spent the last 3 years trying to get jobs or going to college and things like that. So it's just something interesting that I found. Um, Parents showed the most confidence in their young adults immediately after high school. Younger students were more engaged and participatory than the older ones. Older students also displayed more independence, but took longer to engage. And then students who joined GAP not immediately after high school showed higher confidence and greater social awareness. So those were all interesting things I found out about that.
So
That,
from a
that's it.
perspective of tours, I know that this time of year, here we are, right? It's about to be the fall and kind of starting a new school year, if you will. Do you guys do in-person and virtual tours? Do you prefer in person? Is there a particular day of the week that you do those on, or how does that work?
I would say in person um, is probably the best. You would contact our Michelle Henderson, and she would schedule the interview or the tour, and that would go with. And then from there, you would get all the information, see the school, get to ask any questions that you might have about the program and all that kind of stuff. And I would also meet with you too on that.
And then this QR code, you guys can hover your camera over this QR code and learn more and get all the contact information on there. And I am a fan of the in-person tours because you get to see it and you get to feel it, and you get to see some of the other people there and kind of envision, would we be a fit here? Would we not? Do you guys have like a trial day or something like that? Like if a family is considering your program where maybe they could come for a day or two to dip their toe in before they jump in?
So in the spring, when we start looking for enrollment for the next year, we usually do have a day where the students will come and spend 2 days with us. Um, if it would be rolling, I mean, anytime we have students here that we could have somebody come and sit in and watch what we do, that kind of stuff, that it would work. In the summertime, we don't really have that as an option because they would just kind of sit here and not do anything, except for talk to me. So if they want to come and do like a trial day or two, it would have to be during the year where all the students are in on the campus.
Perfect. One question that we had, it was a write-in question, is do you guys take insurance? Can they go for less than 2 years? And on top of that question, I was thinking the answer was no for the insurance, but I wanted you to confirm. What about any of those waivers that pay for some of these types of programs? Do you guys take the HCS waiver, any of the waivers?
No, we don't take any of that. We have not explored those options at all. Um, yeah,
A lot of the programs, I mean, while some of them do, take HCS waivers or other waivers and things like that, sometimes the waiting list for those programs are quite long, like very, very long. So I just wanted to ask on that. Let me see.
also the waiting time for us to receive money from programs like that, if you're taking them, takes quite a long time as well.
Well, in addition to that, if you are taking those programs, you also have to have a lot more staff to manage it, because just filing the claims and
Yes,
babysitting and running after it, it's a department's full-time job to go after that. So it
right.
does make it difficult. Some organizations have nailed it, and many organizations have very intentionally said we're not doing that because they want the focus to be on the kid, right?
Right.
On
Want the
the
money to go to the
growth,
kid.
the growth of
Mhm.
your loved one and not chasing money to keep the doors open. So I definitely understand that. Well, we love what you're doing. I think it's exciting. And for the people that have attended today, I hope you guys will go and tour and reach out to Justin, reach out to Dr. Joseph, and kind of take a deeper dive with this GAP program. Everybody, I didn't mention this morning, but all of our webinars are recorded. And so everybody who registered for today is going to get a copy of today's slides with all of the data and everything that Justin and Dr. Joseph talked about, as well as a link to the recording. So if you wanted to go back and look at something or play it back, you absolutely can. Here is going to be a link to our upcoming webinars that you can register for. And this is our QR code. We always offer free personalized consultations. So this QR code, if you hover your camera over it, will take you to a calendar where you can schedule your free personalized consultation. Well, it has been a pleasure to be with you guys today. I think your program sounds awesome.
Thank
And
you.
I totally love what you're doing. You know, one question I didn't ask, how many kids do you have in the program? And or what is your target number of kids at one time in the program?
Our cohorts are about 8 to 10.
Okay, perfect. All right, so it's big enough that it's not just them, and small enough that it's the personalized attention that you
Correct.
guys spent a lot of time sharing about today. So thank you so much, everyone. It's been a pleasure. Let me just check our chat box. Okay, so we had the cost of the program, and the cost of the program is $38,000 a year. We've got the size of the cohorts, we've got that. So thank you for answering those questions. And again, thank you everyone for being here with us today. And we will look forward to connecting with you guys again soon. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye now.